Yo, what up everyone? Amir Rahim here, owner of Rappin' and Snacking. Getting to another song review, and this one is going to be a track by Pusha T. He just dropped a single from his new album. It's not dry yet. The single is called Diet Coke. Very excited. We hadn't had a full-length Pusha T release since Daytona. That was 2018. It's been almost 4 years. It's wild. I really enjoyed that album. So always stoked for new Pusha T. I think he's just a great artist, dating back tons of years, right? From the late 90s, but especially with clips in the early 2000s, he's been putting out some great music. So let's go ahead and get into a track review. I'm also going to talk about the music video as well. Hit me up on Instagram and TikTok at Rappin' and Snackin'. First off, let's talk about the beat. I think it's very interesting because the beat was actually made by 88 Keys in 2004. So that's 18 years ago because we're currently in 2022. And obviously they had done some adjustments. They had done things in post-production. They added a sample, right? So things like that were added. But the beat itself was made in 2004. So I find that very interesting. I think it did age well. I think the beat is great. But on top of that, too, we do have a vocal sample from Fat Joe. And I think that is good because of a few things. One, I think it's great that it's not just your standard vocal sample. They're actually scratching and they're using it throughout the song. I think that does enhance the track quite a bit. I think the fact that they scratch it in there too is what makes it even a stronger use of the sample, in my opinion. And then also Fat Joe is interesting because, one, he's obviously talking about drugs because one of his famous words that he uses is crack. That's the most popular word he uses in his vocabulary is crack. So that's iconic, number one. Then number two, Fat Joe is also just coincidentally even more relevant now because of like some of the outfits he's been wearing recently, so that just makes the sample more intriguing. Did Kanye West or 88 Keys or whoever, I'd assume Kanye West, did they add that because he's kind of like a little more relevant again? I mean, Fat Joe has been relevant over the years and years and years, but who knows? I'm not sure. But then we get like in the intro, so before that vocal sample, we get in the intro a quote, "Yesterday's price is not today's price." So I think that's great, especially because the track is called Diet Coke and, Pusha T's nature of what he rhymes about. And this song is more or less what you'd expect Pusha T to rhyme about. He's rapping about drugs. He's rapping about some of his influences. He's bragging and boasting a little bit. And it's pretty much the recipe for a lot of Pusha T tracks that are under his belt, right? So I think the intro, "Yesterday's price is not today's price," is really dope. And I think it actually, I'd be shocked, and now we're talking about albums, right? I'd be shocked if this, I wouldn't be too shocked, but I'd be a little puzzled if this was track one on the album. And reason being, with the words, "Yesterday's price is not today's price," I think it actually sets up well if there was a track before it which ended a certain way, which could lead perfectly into this vocal sample and then the drop of the 88 Keys Kanye instrumental. I think that would be very well. So I'll be very interested to see how they place this song on the album. But then to talk about the actual song itself, I think that, we first get the chorus after we get the vocal sample. He starts off with the chorus as opposed to a verse. He talks about imaginary players, giving a shout out to Jay-Z as he does in more parts of the song as well as throughout his career. He also brings up Missy Elliott, which I think is very interesting because he has the line, "Missy was our only misdemeanor," which I think that's more of a shout out than many may know, because not only is he shouting out Missy Elliott and her name, because when she first started rapping as a solo act, her name was Missy Misdemeanor Elliott. But on top of that, Missy Elliott, he's shouting her out because Missy was our only misdemeanor. What he's saying is not only is he talking about misdemeanor in terms of criminal activity, but he's also talking about misdemeanor because Missy is from Virginia, and if you've been following Pusha T, and he has songs about where he talks about how he's from Virginia. He has a clip song called Virginia, so with his brother Malice. So he's shouting out Virginia and Missy Elliott in the same bar. I think it's very clever. I think it possibly went over some people's heads, but I think that's dope because he's not only shouting out his state, granted they are from different parts of Virginia, he's shouting out his state, and he's also shouting out Missy Elliott. Clever homage, and he does do more homage right here. Literally the first line of his song, he says, "Wish me luck, see green like Don Bishop." So Don Bishop, anyone who knows his clothing, you know that he's in a lot of nice green outfits, etc. So I think that's clever. He's bragging and boasting more because he's basically saying who's the best, me and Yezos. So Kanye West, now he shortened his name to Ye, is now Yezo. So it's funny. I mean, Kanye knows how to keep people entertained. It's always so funny. But, you know, you get more and more lyrics and blah, blah, blah. And they're all good. They all fit the quota for what you'd expect from Pusha T. We get the chorus. And then the second verse, I prefer a little more to the first verse. It's a dope one. He shouts out Hove and Puff again, and that's another interesting thing, and I'll tell you why it's interesting. So first, he says Young G's like we Hove and Puff. Young G's is a track from No Way Out, which is the Puff Daddy and the Family album. Was it from 97? Off the top of my head, I think it's from 97. But dope track. Peep it out if you haven't heard it. But the reason why it's also interesting is I think it's clever because if you've watched the music video, Puff Daddy, the music video is with Kanye and Pusha T. You primarily see them only in the screen, then you see a woman as well in some of the video too. But the video is oddly similar to the Flavor in Your Ear remix, which, who's in that one? Oh, Puff Daddy, you got Biggie, you got all the acts who are on that song. So I find that interesting. So I think he's shouting out Puff Daddy because he shouted out Puff Daddy in many songs, but it's also possible he's shouting out Puff Daddy because they're pretty much borrowing the idea or, you know, imitating or however you want to spill it. They're doing that in homage to the Flavor in Your Ear remix music video, in my opinion. I just think they're very similar. So I find that to be interesting. You get some dope bars. Then he says, one of my favorite bars of the song, if not my favorite, is the crack era was such a black era. How many still standing, reflecting in that mirror? Lucky me. Which is a pretty deep line because he's essentially saying, you know, like, it's a black era because, you know, he's not only talking about the black community, but he's also talking about black as in it's a dark era, it was a sad era, it's a troubling era. But then how many are still standing reflecting in that mirror? So how many people are still living to tell the tales? How many people are still able to tell their side of the story? I think it's a pretty deep bar. And he ends it with Lucky Me, which I think is awesome. Then he gets to the chorus again. So as you can tell, I definitely enjoy this track. I think the beat is great. I think the sample's great. I think the bars are good. I think it provides a good taste of what's going to come. And I think, like I said, it's nothing that Pusha T surprising with. It's pretty much what I know he has in his arsenal. So as far as a creativity standpoint, he's going to lose some points there, in my opinion. But it's a single, you know, he's just throwing it out there, right? One problem I have with the song is I think it did leave a little bit hanging on the table, right? I think that we have two verses and then we have the chorus appear 3 times. If you actually like weigh out the bars, I think one of the verses is 12 lines, the other verse is 16 lines, and the chorus is pretty much half the song too. So you have half the song chorus, half the song verses. It kind of leaves some stuff on the table. You wish for a little more. And although the instrumental is very good, the problem that I have with it is it's just monotonous, right? There wasn't too much switching on the instrumental end as I'd want. Nothing was really added. Nothing was really subtracted. It didn't really trick the listener's ear, my ear, as much as I'd like, you know, to be engaged in that aspect. I think they did a great job with the vocal sample, but at the end of the day, I think they could have done more on this track. I think Kanye could have done a little better in terms of the production aspect in post-production. I think there could have been a little more done. But with that said, still a fine product, still very good. The music video, super simple. Like I said, definitely a shout out to the Flavor in Your remix video. In my opinion, I see stark similarities there. But strong single. I'm really excited to hear what they're gonna have on the album, because like I said, I'd also be intrigued to see where they put this on the album. Is it gonna be a track one? Is it gonna be in the middle? I'm gonna assume it's not gonna be track one unless they're really gonna start it with that vocal sample. Yesterday's price is not today's price. I can see it happening, but I don't know. I'd be excited to see where they place it. I'm definitely a nerd, and I think album placement, song placement, I think it's very important in making a strong album. That's my opinion. As far as the rating goes, I'm probably going to go ahead and give this like a B. I think it's good. I think it attracts me. But as far as how many times I'm going to go ahead and listen to this, like I said, the beat can get a little monotonous. I did listen to it a couple times back to back, and I was getting a little tired of it. Just because of, like I said, there wasn't a lot of play on that beat. But that being said, it's still a good one. I'm going to go ahead and give this a B. Let me know what y'all think about this track. Let me know what you think of Pusha T's performance, the instrumental, all that good stuff. And if you are excited for Pusha T's album, if you have any questions for me, go ahead, let me know. Hit me up on Instagram and TikTok at Rappin' and Snackin'. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit you with some more reviews and collection videos. I appreciate y'all. As always, I'm out of here. Peace.